Just keep it. Just keep it. Yeah. Just keep it authentic TV where we only speak on facts. Just keep it authentic TV. We keep it real, no cap. Just keep it authentic TV where we keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic TV. We don't do no pretending. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Take a sit, enjoy the vibe. Yo. Like, share, subscribe. Take a sit, enjoy the vibe. Yo. Keep it authentic TV, where the facts outweigh the lies. Keep it authentic TV, where nothing but truth resides. Keep it authentic, share the vibe. Come enjoy the fun and don't forget to subscribe. Keep it authentic TV, where the facts outweigh the lies. Keep it authentic TV, where nothing but truth resides. Just keep it authentic, yeah. They keep it authentic. You can just keep it authentic, yeah. They keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic. Yeah, keep it authentic. Let me just keep it authentic. Yeah, keep it authentic. Yeah. Hit the like button, share the vibe. Come and join the fun and don't forget to subscribe. Just keep it authentic TV. Just keep it authentic TV. Just keep it authentic. Just keep it authentic. Let's go. Let's go.
What's good? What's good? Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday morning to everybody, man. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Blanco. And we back with another episode of Keep It Authentic TV. And y'all see the title, man. Today we talking about a 9-year-old little girl who was savagely attacked and beaten on a school bus by a 15-year-old boy. This happened in Florida. So for those of y'all that's been covering the Nolan Wells case, I salute to y'all. You know what I'm saying? I've been covering it, you know, as well. But, you know, we also have to keep in mind that there are other, you know, incidents happening in the world that deserve some attention. So today we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about this incident, right? And we're going to, you know, try to make sense of this incident, if you will, right? You know what I'm saying? Because I read this story, right? And I watched this video, and there is nothing that you can tell me that warranted a 15-year-old kid, a boy at that, beating up on a 9-year-old girl. First and foremost, your parents should be teaching you that you don't put your hands on little girls. That's first and foremost. You know, so I kind of blame the parents, you know what I'm saying, for that, you know what I'm saying, because you should be teaching your boys. Your boys are going to grow up to be young men, you know, so you should be teaching them that you respect little girls, you respect women, you know what I'm saying? You don't beat up on them, you don't put your hands on a woman, you walk away, you know what I'm saying? Or if the situation is, you know, it warrants some type of discipline or punishment, then you go get the proper authorities and you let them deal with that situation, right? But I'm not going to talk y'all to death. With that being said, man, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into this article here. Let's get it. Okay, as y'all can see, I got this article on the screen here. This is from the Atlanta Black Star. You know what I'm saying? This is a newspaper, I believe, out of Atlanta, Georgia. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to read this article, and as you can see, the bold print here, it says, I couldn't look at the video. Florida 15-year-old faces more serious charges in vicious school bus attack on 9-year-old girl. Says he was defending his little brother. Okay, so what did this little girl do to your little brother that warranted you to attack her the way that you did, right? Now, like I said, I'm gonna let y'all watch the video for yourself and y'all can form your own opinion and you can give your own analysis of what you think, you know what I'm saying, may have transpired that led to this attack on this little girl. But let's go ahead and read this article, right? So it says a 15-year-old boy who was caught on a cell phone, who was caught on cell phone video beating up an elementary student on a Miami school bus will face criminal charges for the crime. I salute to that. You deserve to face criminal charges for this crime. You know, it is what it is. But let's continue reading. Police records indicate the boy admitted to repeatedly striking the much younger girl in the head because she and his brother got into an earlier altercation. So essentially, right, your little brother and this little girl, right, they got into a previous altercation earlier in the day. So with that being said, right, you took it upon yourself to say, hey, I'm going to beat this little girl up. Okay, so this little girl is 9 years old. You're 15. Now, I don't know how old your little brother is or what his stature is or whatever, right? But first and foremost, you shouldn't be getting into arguments, that are that serious with a little girl that warrants you and your brother, you know what I'm saying? Well, you telling your brother, because I'm assuming that you told your brother about this incident or somebody in the school told your brother about this incident and he took it upon himself to say, okay, look, I'm gonna get her after school. And I just don't understand. It just don't make sense to me, right? But like once again, like I said earlier, I blame the parents for situations like this because you're not teaching your children, the correct way. Now, I don't know what type of discipline or punishment or, you know, whatever the case may be. I don't know what his parents did, you know, pertaining to this situation. You know what I'm saying? But, nonetheless, you know what I'm saying, this situation could have and should have been avoided. But let's continue reading with the article. It says on Tuesday, February 7th, Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle announced the unnamed teen who repeatedly struck the 9-year-old girl as she rode on the bus from Coconut Palm K through 8 Academy to her home will be charged with battery in the provided court, in juvenile court for the Wednesday, February 1st incident, according to NBC6. Okay, right? So he's being criminally charged for this incident, right? Now, this is a still image of the attack. I don't know if y'all can see my cursor on the screen, but this guy right here in the black sweatshirt, this is the 15-year-old little boy. And this girl down here, you know what I'm saying, with her arm over her head trying to cover herself up, that is the little girl, right? That's a still image. Now once again, like I said, I'm gonna play the video for y'all so y'all can see for yourself exactly what this 15-year-old boy did to this little girl. But we're gonna keep reading this article. So it says another boy was seen on the video striking the girl after the teen reportedly received a civil citation. It is unclear if he will face criminal charges. Okay, I believe he should. You know what I'm saying? Now we don't know if this other individual that was seen striking this little girl, we don't know if that is the little brother of the 15-year-old or just another student on the bus that decided to say, hey, I'm going to get me some free licks in. But nonetheless, I believe you should face criminal charges as well. You should face battery charges as well as this 15-year-old for participating in this incident. So we're going to continue on reading the story. It says the 9-year-old girl who reportedly sustained bruises on her head, back, and shoulders believes maybe it was her fault. Now let's stop right there. Now my question to this little girl would be, what do you think that you did so severely to this little boy that warranted you being savagely attacked and beaten by his older brother. So as you can see, right, and now before we go any further, right, I want to throw this out there, right, because this is a rumor. This is something that's allegedly floating around. It's being alleged that this little girl supposedly used the N word. Now, there's no confirmed reports of that, so I don't know how true that is. But even if she did, right, it does not warrant you being savagely attacked by a 15-year-old who probably weighs more than you. He's probably bigger than you know, not to mention the fact that he's a young man. He's a 15-year-old young boy, you know what I'm saying? And this little girl was 9, you know, and now she is blaming herself for this incident, you know, and that's a shame, you know what I'm saying? But let's keep on reading with the article. She has self blame and fear from the situation, the mother said. It's just a lot of trauma to heal, and it's a process for us here at home. Rundle's office issued a statement describing the incident as one more than a simple student altercation. The February 1st, 2023 school bus video of a 15-year-old boy pummeling a 9-year-old girl clearly shows that this beating was more serious than a simple student altercation. The school's police officer who investigated the matter had the discretion to issue a civil citation, as the officer did here, or make an arrest for misdemeanor battery, the statement reads in part. So now it goes on to say down below here, it says, we believe that based on the evidence and the circumstances, the use of a civil citation was incompatible with the level of violence displayed by the 15-year-old against his much younger and smaller victim, she continued. As a result, we have filed criminal battery charges with our juvenile court, as she should. So, congratulations to the district attorney out there in Florida. They finally got one right. But let's keep reading. Miami-Dade County Public Schools said in a statement that it supports and respects the role of the Miami-Dade State Attorney Office in ultimately reviewing and determining the most appropriate charge for each respective case. Okay, so I believe this is the video here, but I have another article that I'm going to read y'all after we finish reading this one pertaining to the charges being filed on this 15-year-old boy. And in that article, I believe it contains a much clearer video. So we're going to play that video for y'all so y'all can see what this attack looked like. But let's continue with this article, right? It says school board members have expressed that this type of behavior should never be tolerated in their schools. Board member Luisa Santos represents the area where the incident took place and said in part, anytime we see violence related to students and school staff, it is unacceptable behavior that we don't tolerate. She continued, they should know that this is never acceptable to act out violently. Jenny said her daughter, and Jenny is the mother of the little girl that was attacked. Jenny said her daughter was not the only victim. According to the mother, her slightly older 10-year-old son was assaulted on the same ride as his sister. Another kid came out of nowhere and hit my son, and he fell to his knees, and they started to hit him, she said. Despite having only attended the school in Homestead, Florida for 3 weeks, the children, their mom said, had faced bullying prior to the February 1st incident. Hours before the school bus incident, she had reported to the local CBS affiliates. She had reported to the local CBS affiliates how her children experienced bullying at the academy for pre-K to 8th grade students. As the video of the February 1st incident, Jenny says she didn't view it in its entirety. Emotionally, I couldn't even last 2 minutes. I couldn't look at the video. Like any mother, I am destroyed. I fell to my knees, and at that moment, I said, I have to do something, said Jenny. Okay, congratulations to mom for standing up for her daughter. Job well done, mom. Let's continue on reading. Now, the two kids are traumatized, Jenny reports, even though the pain from the incident is going away. This is an unfortunate incident, said the school board member, Dr. Steve Gallen III. It is our obligation to ensure the safety of our students. So I was deeply troubled by the assault, I, by the visuals I saw. I think it is an isolated case. Okay, we it doesn't matter if it's an isolated case or not. We want to know how are you going to deal with these types of situations to prevent them from happening again in the future. Good morning, beautiful. How you doing? Uh so you know, we don't really care about it being an isolated case. This case should have never happened to begin with. You know what I'm saying? So, what we want to know is what measures are you putting in place to make sure that this type of incident never happens again? You know what I'm saying? So, let's continue on reading. It says, I think that some form of rehabilitation is needed because children who feel that aggressiveness and violence is the only answer need to have a way to change that form of thought, added Jenny. I want to see solutions. Right. That's what you asked for, solutions. I want to see solutions and I want to see it. My kids weren't safe from it, but I don't want another mother to be going through what I am going through, she said. My child is not the first, and if they don't do anything about it, Jenny said, it is not going to be the last. And I agree with her 100%. You know what I'm saying? If you don't do something about it now, you know what I'm saying? Because according to what we read earlier in this article, this is not, this has been going on for quite some time now. And these kids have only been in this school for 3 weeks. So they probably started bullying these kids as soon as they got there. You know what I'm saying? Which is an unfortunate incident. But once again, you know what I'm saying? As parents, right? You know how when school is getting ready to start back after summer break, right? They usually have these, you know, these little meetings at the school where you take your kids to the school and the principal speaks and they get to meet their teachers and all that type of stuff, right? Okay, at those meetings, right, as parents, we need to be asking questions. You know what I'm saying? We need to be asking these school officials, okay, so what are the security measures here in your school? If an altercation was to happen here in your school, you know, are you trained properly or is your staff properly trained in how to deal with these types of situations? Now, listen, don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. Hold on, let me finish this article real quick because I think we just about at the end of it. Yeah, let me finish this up real quick and then I'm gonna go ahead and get back to my thought, right? It says the school district reportedly also is looking at the school bus driver's response and attentiveness to the situation in order to determine if the driver also will face disciplinary actions. Okay, so that kind of ties in to the point that I was getting ready to make, right? Okay, so listen, right? What I'm saying is, like I was saying, when we go to these meetings and we meet our children's teachers and we get to meet the staff at the school that our children is attending, right? We need to be asking these types of questions. We need to be asking this staff. We need to be asking these school officials what type of security measures are in place. Like, do you have, you know, uh, proper trained staff that knows how to deal with if a stranger walks into the building? Now, I know I'm in Tennessee, right? I live in Tennessee. And for the most part, schools here in Tennessee, right? You can't just walk in the building. You have to get buzzed in. So, for that, I mean, I think that's a good safety measure where, people just can't just walk into the school building off the street. So I think that's one good safety measure. But also, right, you need to have, now listen, like I was saying before, right? I'm not expecting teachers to jump in the middle of a violent altercation because anything can happen in a situation like that, right? When you have two students fighting and it is potentially a violent situation to where they tossing each other around, slamming each other off of walls and floors and stuff like that. I'm not expecting a teacher, unless you're a man of physical stature, then maybe you might be physically capable enough of jumping in the middle of it and separating these students. You know, you may sustain a few punches along the way, but for the most part, I'm not really expecting a teacher to jump in. You know what I'm saying? Because, we don't know if one of these students may have a weapon of some sort. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to put another person's life in danger either. But there needs to be some type of training put in place to say, okay, listen, if you see this certain type of incident happening, this is how you deal with it. If you see this type of altercation happening, this is how you deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So I wish I could find the video, right? And I really don't have time to look for it right now, but I will look for it later on today and try to find it, so I can bring it to y'all and show y'all. But I'm not sure, exactly who this person was, but a school official did speak out and make a statement that I seen on the news where she was speaking about how the school officials and the staff and the bus drivers were trained in safety measures, right? So when she made that statement, it kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. And she also named the manual that they use, for the training, right? So what I did was I took the liberty to look up the manual myself, right? And it came from the website of the Florida Department of Education. So this does not come from Chat GPT or Wikipedia or Google or Safari or nothing like that. This came strictly from the Florida Department of Education's website. And in that manual, I didn't see anything in the manual that pertained to how bus drivers should deal with, you know, fighting, if students get to fighting on the bus, or if students get to arguing with one another on the bus, or if they're pushing and shoving each other on the bus, even if they're just acting a clown in general on the bus. Kids flip over seats, they throw spitballs at each other and all types of stuff when they ride home on the bus. You know what I'm saying? So, but I saw nothing in the manual that explained how these drivers are supposed to handle these types of situations, right? For the most part, the safety part talked about like the seat belts and, the emergency exits and all that type of stuff, right? But there was nothing in there that explained to us as a citizen or as parents that may have kids that ride the bus, it was nothing in there that explained to us how these drivers are trained to deal with these different types of situations, right? So, I was just kind of, I was a kind of little confused on that, right? Because she referred to the manual, and then when I went and looked at the manual, there was nothing in there. Now I'm not going to sit down. I will give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I looked at the wrong manual. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say, I didn't look at the right section, or maybe I was looking at the wrong manual, or whatever the case may be, right? So let's give her the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to slander the character of the Florida Department of Correction. You know what I'm saying? I mean, excuse me, the Florida Department of Education, not correction. And I hope that you're not a part of the Florida Department of Correction, but if you are, I hope they free you soon. But anyway, right? So now we're going to get into this other article that is by News 7. You know what I'm saying? And it's basically it will contain a lot of the information that we just read in the previous article from the Atlanta Black Star, but it also contains the video in here of the actual incident. So that's why I wanted to wait until we got to this article, because I believe the video in this article is a little bit more clear than the video they had in the Atlanta Black Star. So now let's get into this article here and see what they got to say about these charges. All right, so charges filed against 15-year-old boy for beating 9-year-old girl on school bus. Okay, now this was published February 7th of 2023. Now, mind y'all, this is a 2023 incident. So for those of y'all that may think this just something that just recently happened, no, this is from February of 2023, and it happened in Florida, Homestead, Florida to be exact. Okay, so once again, here's the video. So now we're going to review the video, and I must warn you, you know what I'm saying, that the video is very graphic, and it contains, you know, uh depictions of violence in it. So if you're the type of person you don't want to view this video, you can step away from your phone, your TV, your computer, whatever device you're watching the stream on. I advise you to step away now because, like I said, the video is kind of graphic, but we're going to let you view the video because I want you, the people, to form your own opinion on whether you think, that the state attorney in Florida was right by, saying, okay, look, a civil citation, that's not enough, for this level of violence. We need to file criminal battery charges on this young man. So we're going to look at the video and y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments.
Number 1 live streaming solution. Create in multi-stream live video.
Oh yeah, we don't want to hear all that. Okay, here we go. All right, we can skip through all this. All right, let's get into this video.
A teen in trouble with the law accused of attacking a 9-year-old girl.
Now look
She
at
and
that.
her
Y'all
brother
see that shit, man?
of a violent bus beating.
There ain't no reason for you to be raining down punches like that on that little girl. You need your ass whooped. That's what you need.
To be in court today. Danielle, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Lorena. Ethan, as you guys mentioned, the state attorney's office announced they will be filing those battery charges against the 15-year-old boy. That video of his violent attack is really tough to watch, and so they say it merits a tough punishment. Serious actions require serious consequences. That's the message the state attorney is sending after filing criminal charges against a 15-year-old boy, accusing him of beating up a 9-year-old girl on a school bus.
It's just sad what violence does to children nowadays, and it feels like it's an epidemic.
This video shows the violent attack on February 1st. Pictures show the girl's bruises on her head, back, and shoulders.
It's just very hard to watch, even till this day.
Authorities say initially a school police officer investigated and gave the teen a civil citation, but the state attorney didn't feel that was the right punishment. Writing in part, "We believe that based on the evidence and the circumstances, the use of a civil citation was incompatible with the level of violence displayed by the 15-year-old against his much younger and smaller victim.
I agree 100%.
As a result, we have filed criminal battery charges with our juvenile courts." The victim's mother says during that same violent bus ride, someone also beat up her 10-year-old son. Right now, she doesn't know if any action will be taken for that. She says her kids had been bullied throughout the year at their school, Coconut Palm Academy in Southwest Miami-Dade, but nothing was done until it escalated on that bus.
My child is not the first, and if they don't do anything about it, it's not going to be the last. And it's just very sad because there were many points where adults could have stopped this from getting as bad as it did.
Okay, so let's stop right there, right? Let's stop right there. Now, y'all just watch the video for yourself. Listen, y'all see how that boy was raining down punches on that little girl. And then, you know what I'm saying? My thing is, you got all of these students standing around recording it, and not one of them jumped in and say, hey, come on, man, that's a little girl. Like, relax, chill out, bro. You know what I'm saying? No, they standing there. So it's like, listen, this is what I mean by the parents of these children. Like the parents of these children, don't get me wrong, right? I'm not familiar with the Southwest Miami-Dade area. You know what I'm saying? I am familiar with the Miami area, you know what I'm saying, because I lived there for a while. But I'm not familiar with the Southwest Miami-Dade area. Now, I will say that there are impoverished areas in Miami just like anywhere else, right? So I understand that, for a lack of better words, right, the environment that a person lives in will play a role in the types of decisions that they make in life. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying like I don't know what type of environment this mother and her children live in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not making an excuse, you know what I'm saying, for anything that took place. But, the parents in this area, they seem to not have a vested interest in teaching their kids how to properly conduct themselves when they're in the public. You know what I'm saying? Because as you can see, not only did this 15-year-old boy attack this little 9-year-old girl, but we also saw another little boy attacking her son as well. Now, once again, this mother stated that, excuse me, her kids have been being bullied at this school, you know, basically the whole 3 weeks they've been there. So y'all know how it is when you the new kid in a school, right? You know what I'm saying? Say for instance, you might have went to school in, Washington D.C. and then now you moved to Florida. So now you got to transfer schools. So now you the new kid in school, right? And y'all know, there's some students that welcome the new kids and they want to be friends with the new kids. And there's other students, right, that feel like, oh, I'm going to try them and I'm going to see what they about. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, there is no excuse for a boy beating up on a girl. I don't care if y'all was the same age, the same height, the same weight, whatever. I don't care about any of that. No boy, just like no man, should be putting his hands on a woman. You know what I'm saying? No little boy should be beating up on a little girl, especially a 9-year-old little girl. Now we can see from that video, this little boy was probably twice the size of this little girl, right? And then, yeah, we saw, and like the most disturbing part of that, right, is watching all of these other little kids stand around and like cheer him on. That's the most disturbing part of it all. You know, like so it goes to show you that, right? This little boy, right, this 15-year-old little boy, he's probably one of, if not the biggest bully in the school, because you have to hold some type of fear over people for them to stand around and film and watch you do this to a little girl. You know what I'm saying? Instead of one of these little boys jumping in and saying, hey, 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 yo, chill out, bro. Like, that's a little girl, bro. Like, you wrong. Like, relax. Okay, listen, even if you did that, right? And let's just say he got mad and punched on you next. You know what I'm saying? Okay, now it's two battery cases he fighting instead of one. It's like, but you don't stand around and you don't film an incident like this because there is nothing funny about this. Now, let's look at it like this. All them kids standing around filming it, that's the reason you got caught. Because they thought it was funny. They thought it was something that they can put. Y'all know how these kids is with YouTube and Snapchat and World Star and all these different platforms, right? They be waiting for incidents like this that they can film and put it on the internet and troll and make fun of people and all that type of stuff, right? And then when you get a hold of the parents, right, and you put them in front of a camera, they try to make it seem like, oh, my child was raised better than this. No, they wasn't. Because if they was raised better than this, they wouldn't be participating in this type of activity. You know what I'm saying? See, that's the type of stuff that burns me up with parents, right? Don't get in front of a camera and try to make it seem like you're oblivious to your child's behavior. No, most of y'all encourage y'all children to act like this. Most of y'all sit at home, y'all let y'all kids play all these little violent video games, GTA, Call of Duty, and all that type of stuff, right? And then y'all wonder where they get it from. You got, your living boyfriend or the child's father, he's probably a dude that's in the streets. He's not a good role model for the child. You know what I'm saying? The mother, you probably working and struggling, trying to do the best you can, you know what I'm saying? And then, you got the uncles and the aunts, that all they want to do is drink and smoke around the child and curse and, just show him all kinds of bad shit. Don't want to put nothing positive in his life. You know what I'm saying? So this is how, you know, situations like this come about. You know what I'm saying? Because these kids aren't being properly trained. It starts at home. Let's not forget that, people. It starts at home. You know what I'm saying? So the things that your kids see at home, the things that your kids hear at home, the things that your kids witness at home, you know what I'm saying? Those are the very things that they take out into the world with them. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. You know, for a lot of us, we may not believe that that's true. We may look at that and be like, oh, that's a load of bullshit. That's a crock of crap. You know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to hear none of that. I'm telling you from personal experience, man. Listen, I got 6 kids of my own. You know what I'm saying? And you know, for the most part, listen, I'm not going to sit here and make my kids out to be like violent thugs or savages or anything like that. No, they're not those type of children. Yes, they will defend themselves. You know what I'm saying? And yes, as a father and as a parent, yes, I will teach my children to defend themselves. But I also teach my children not to be bullies as well. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, everything doesn't warrant a reaction to it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people may say something, and sometimes you just got to let that roll off your shoulder and just, let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't, like, I used to be one of those type of people, right? You know what I'm saying? That thought that everything had to be dealt with anger and violent and things of that nature, right? So I had to be taught, by going through therapy and things like that, right? I had to be taught that, you can't always react to everything. Sometimes you just got to let some things just, like I said, roll off your shoulder and be like, listen, man, I'm not even putting my time and energy into this, right? So, with that being said, right, like I said, this is a very unfortunate incident, and it's kind of sad that not more people are talking about this situation because I knew nothing about this incident. You know what I'm saying? My wife brought this incident to my attention, and I thought it would make, a good story to do some content on, right? And once again, like I said, over here at Keep It Authentic TV, we all about, uplifting people and spreading joy and positivity. And like I said, it's a lot going on right now. I know with the Nolan Wells case, that has pretty much taken precedence, over the airwaves and the social media networks. So listen, I am not trying to discredit that case at all. I'm praying that the mother of Nolan Wells gets the answers and the closure that she deserves, as well as his family. You know what I'm saying? But we got to remember that there's other things going on out here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be bringing some more stories to y'all that a lot of people aren't reporting on, you know, either, what I'm saying, just because, I don't want people to think that, you know, other cases are being overshadowed by this one case. And I mean, if you really look at it and you think about it, that's what's happening here. So I encourage my other content creators as well, man. Listen, I'm not telling you not to report on the Nolan Wells case. You know what I'm saying? By all means, keep shedding light on that case. Keep putting out the new information that's coming out. I got some new information on that case that I'm going to be bringing to y'all too. You know what I'm saying? Like this Friday, excuse me, this past Friday on TikTok, I was supposed to sit down with a man that goes by the name of Jay Gill, who supposedly works for the United States Cajun Navy down there in Mississippi, right? I was scheduled to sit down and talk to him, and I was going to do a panel where people could come up and ask him different questions pertaining to that case, right? But for some reason, that fell through. He never got back to me on whether the time was good or not. And that's neither here nor there. You know what I'm saying? I may reach out to him again. There may have been a mix up. There may have been something where he just got caught up. He was busy. He just didn't have time to get back to me. I may reach out again and try to sit down with him again. I won't, don't hold me to that. I'm not guaranteeing you that I will reach out. I also spoke to another gentleman. I don't think I will be reaching out to him just because, when I spoke to him previously, he did inform me that He's been on a lot of different panels and he's kind of like burnt out on it. So I probably won't reach out to him, but you know, as I find other people that may have pertinent information on different cases, I will be reaching out to them and trying to invite them to my platform so we can sit down and have a discussion. You know what I'm saying? So stay tuned for more content like that in the future. But like I said, man, listen, when y'all go to these schools, right, and y'all go meet these officials at these schools and y'all meet these teachers, make sure that y'all talking about safety with these officials, man. Make sure that your kids are safe in the schools that they are attending. Make sure your kids are safe on the bus rides that they take home, or to and from school. Make sure, because I ain't going to lie to you, man, down here in Tennessee, these bus drivers that down here, they can't diffuse nothing. These is 70, 80-year-old men. So I'm telling you right now, if a fight was to jump off on one of these buses, they're going to have to get the law enforcement involved because the drivers are too old to be able to do anything. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, in situations like that, right? Maybe y'all shouldn't, hire these drivers. And I'm not telling you to discriminate. Like if a person is 70 years old and still capable of driving the bus, hey, by all means, let them do it. That's not what I'm saying, right? But we also have to take into consideration other factors. You know what I'm saying? What if a fight jumps off on this bus? What if kids get to acting too unruly on this bus? And because depending on what these kids is doing, it could potentially cause an accident. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, man, it's your boy Blanco, and this has been another episode of Keep It Authentic TV, man. If nobody told y'all they love you today, I want to let you know I love y'all, man, and I hope y'all be safe as we journey through the rest of this week, man. But it's your boy Blanco. I'm out.